If you find yourself in the throes of desire of, I'm not all full, I need this one thing to be all full, switch to gratitude. And we back, players and playettes, with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. There's a phrase that I think about quite often that was said in passing in one of the lectures by our teacher, Swami Parthasarathy. He said, hope is a mild form of anxiety. Kind of hit me like a ton of bricks because hope is something that we talk so much about in the West. Hope for the future, hope that things work out, hope that things get better, hope that it all just happens for us. And it was a complete reorientation to think about it as a mild form of anxiety. It's talked about in the Gita that the realized soul is hopeless, has no hope, meaning has no desire whatsoever, but no desire for things to change or things to complete themselves at some future state because they don't need it. If you are paripurna, and I rarely use the Sanskrit words, as you know, because this is not, scholarship, just being a scholar.
It's the house of learned doctors.
Is not necessarily prioritized in this tradition to just memorize these things. But there is this term, paripurna, Sanskrit term for all full, complete, infinitely complete. That speaks this, you would have no hope. You'd have no need for hope if you were infinitely complete. If you're all full, all content. Therefore, to have hope is to not feel, perceive, experience a sense of being paripurna, all full. The antithesis of feeling all full is obviously feeling not full, hoping for something. Desire then is a mild form of greed. Desiring anything is a mild form of greed. Hope is a mild form of anxiety. To want anything, as we've chatted about before, to want anything, it is akin to stealing. Because according to this philosophy, and take it or leave it, whether you buy it or not, this is just what the philosophy puts forth, that you already have everything. The sad state we all find ourselves in is actually a state of ignorance, thinking we don't have it all. Thinking that we are not it all. Thinking that we are not paripurna. But lately I've been thinking about this kind of convention of these seemingly innocuous things are mild forms of pretty malicious, nefarious vices. Hope is a mild form of anxiety, desire, mild form of greed, and one that I've been thinking about lately on the positive sense. These things that we do or prioritize, reinforce culturally that are actually quite positive, and yet this philosophy or timeless traditions throughout the world take it even further. And the one that comes to mind, and again, this is in the positive direction, is that gratitude is a mild form of wonderment. Gratitude, being grateful, not taking things for granted, that is a hallmark of a Vedantic approach to gratitude, and not taking anything for granted is a hallmark of a Vedantic approach to life. Gratitude journaling is quite hip in the West right now because of its therapeutic benefits. We always need the science to back things up, and beautifully, the science backs up gratitude. Actually also backs up generosity in terms of the innate or the inner well-being that it creates when we're generous. Similarly, when we list out the things that we're grateful for, Do that for 15, 20 days in a row, and it starts to improve mood, all for free, all within a few minutes of jotting down a list of things that we're grateful for. To connect many of these different threads, gratitude and desire cannot coexist. If you find yourself in the throes of desire of, I'm not all full, I need this one thing to be all full, switch to gratitude. This is a convention within the philosophy of Vedanta that gratitude and desire cannot coexist, which is so beautiful as an antidote to whenever you just feel like, I'm missing out on that one thing, or if I could just solve that one issue with my health, I'll be happy. Well, if you want to replace that yearning, that discontent with something else, if you want to be free of it, well, gratitude is the answer. But something that I've been reflecting on lately is that gratitude, classically, is it's in there, it's woven into the philosophy, but much higher than that is this principle of wonderment. Ascharya is the Sanskrit word. Wonderment. This philosophy, it emphasizes a sense of wonderment in the world around us. It takes a gratitude list for myself specifically. I'll speak from my experience. Gratitude and having a gratitude list is great, but you do that enough and it starts to train the mind to become more and more aware of a couple things. One, all that we have to be grateful for. The average person in the West is richer than any king in the world 500 years ago. It's wild, the quality of life that is now just mundane. But taken even further than just the gratitude is, and the awareness of how much we have to be grateful for, you can start to stretch the mind by using the intellect to point to things that you would conventionally be ungrateful for, putting it on the list of your gratitude list and saying, you know what, I was sick last week for 2 days. How could I be grateful for that? Was there any area, any aspect of that which I could be grateful for? Increasing the empathy for those that are perennially sick. Maybe it gave you 2 days to relax, calm down, slow down, and maybe you had an insight about life or work or relationships because of that. Maybe it was a message that ultimately was a very cheap lesson and message that, broadly speaking, you need to take better care of oneself. Whatever that exercise is for you, jot down something you would conventionally be ungrateful for. Strained relationship with a parent. And maybe there's room. 60 seconds, 2 or 3 minutes of imagination. Maybe there's room to where there's a place to be grateful for that. Maybe it's the cautionary tale for helping you avoid a strained relationship with your children in the future. Maybe it's a reinforcement of some of these principles. Parents that are just too attached create the very thing that they fear most. Distance from a child. And it's a reinforcement of a lesson in the real world that you can apply in relationships throughout your life. Whatever it is, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes to see how something you would conventionally say is, man, this would not go on my gratitude list. Yeah, finding a way in which it can, entertaining that idea for a few days, and before you know it, your gratitude list does include a lot of things that, again, speaking from experience, that you just can't even believe that they're on that list. Out of genuine gratitude for losing that professional opportunity, that going south, that being so hard and that being such a struggle. It's beautiful to watch that happen. But to take it to another degree, beyond gratitude for this, or gratitude for this kind of pleasurable thing, or gratitude for this thing that was unpleasurable but had a positive impact in some way in your life. Another degree is to enter the land of wonderment, where you're not just grateful for that ability to afford working car or a new car, or grateful for the amazing sunset, or grateful for losing out on that job opportunity because 6 weeks later something amazing happened that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Wonderment it isn't a list. It's just a state where your list is almost infinite, where you're like, how is this all happening? Wonderment goes beyond an appreciation of a stunning sunset to almost silencing the thoughts altogether, because you just can't even believe the infinitude of the beauty that you get to witness in that sunset. Or could be birth of a child, or Swami will say, can you get it to where just peeling a banana presents you with this sense of wonderment, ascharya, where you feel like, how did nature create this? Oh, nature's candy bar, beautifully wrapped, waiting for you to open it. And it's like sunlight rising and hitting everything. A sense of wonderment, when we cultivate it, just grows and grows and grows. And it's such a beautiful state to pluck ourselves out of, I just want one more thing, or I need these things to happen, and plant ourselves into a state of, maybe I would have designed these things differently, but this is just wild how it's all happening. I can't believe this happened, that happened. I can't believe that there's running water where I live. I don't believe that. Even just as you listen to this, I think this all the time when I tune into the lectures through the app that the ashram has, from the comfort of my couch. Tuning into wisdom that 60, 70 years ago, you'd have to go to the Himalayas. You'd have to trek halfway around the world, go up and try to find a teacher, leaving everything behind, likely spoken in Sanskrit, a language that you and I do not speak. $20,000 feet up, away from everything else, just to get one lecture, much less an infinite stream of them whenever you want in your pocket. As you listen to this, I'm just a conduit, a philosophical jockey playing the hits from the timeless masters, and these notions, these concepts, for free in your pocket any hour of the day. It is wild. The manual for living. This knowledge of life is so accessible. It's even more accessible than running water. If gratitude and desire cannot coexist, wonderment and suffering equally cannot coexist. And I love, love, love that this philosophy, it emphasizes the principle of wonderment and cultivating that sense of wonderment, that state of being in wonderment. This philosophy emphasizes being in that state more than any other worldly state. And it is both a practice and the result of practice. It's a practice to pluck ourselves out of that state of being without, going within, and being in that state of wonderment. And it is the result of practice. The more it's practiced, the more you just sit back and you're like, wow, that just worked out. That beautiful sequence of events, I could not have planned it any better. I'm so glad I'm not in the driver's seat because of this or that happening in the way that it did. How can we be so fortunate for this big thing or the banana that you peel later today? It's a beautiful thing to cultivate, and it's a beautiful result of that cultivation. Just being in that state more and more. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.